The Utah Jazz parted ways with multiple players today. In one case, Jordan Clarkson, there was a contract buyout. Another couple instances, there were just contracts that weren't picked up for additional years, and that was Johnny Juzang and Micah Potter. Let's talk about it.
Jazz Smack, your source for information and analysis about the Utah Jazz and NBA basketball. Jazz Smack is a community for passionate Utah Jazz NBA fans.
So this was kind of to be expected. The Jazz needed to eliminate the contract and Jordan Clarkson, more specifically, from the roster for this upcoming season. And so Jordan received a buyout, which was appropriate. And I think that most every fan of the game of basketball that likes to see it played the correct way could see this writing on the wall, and this was the inevitable conclusion to Jordan's career in Salt Lake as a Jazz player. There was no way that the Jazz were able to trade this contract unless they received a worse contract in return, or that it was part of another bigger deal where Jordan's contract was simply attached to a trade that was larger than Jordan's contract by itself. I mean, there was no way that the Jazz were going to be able to trade for anything positive, only something negative, his contract straight across for something else. I mean, it would have had to have been negative return coming back, because there was just no interest in that contract, and everybody knew that. Jordan's numbers have been very poor. There's horrific efficiency. I mean, he has some of the worst numbers in terms of efficiency and, the percentages and the turnovers and all that. I mean, he does not have good numbers, and that was an unmovable contract. Nobody wanted that contract on their books, considering how tight money is right now in the NBA and how many teams are dealing with first and second apron issues. That was going to be a contract that would be next to impossible to move. So the buyout there was appropriate. We wish Jordan well. Hopefully he finds something out there that he can get on with another team, a team that's in contention. Maybe he can fill some type of a role in a small ancillary way, possibly. We'll see what happens with that. I wish him well. I'm just very pleased that he's no longer on the Jazz. I mean, extraordinarily pleased. Finally, after all these years, he's going elsewhere. And Jordan the person, awesome. Jordan the basketball player, not so much, in my opinion. So that goes on to the other two guys. Micah, I don't have a lot to say about Micah. I mean, Micah, I think he served well here. He's been here for multiple years. I mean, I think he had a good run here. He played some games with the Jazz. I would say that if he were to express his, and I'm sure he will in a social media post or whatnot, that his time playing for the Utah Jazz organization was really positive, and his time in Utah was really positive. And by all accounts, Micah has been a really good member of the Jazz organization. It's just that, there's not a long-term role for him, obviously, as a major contributor to the Utah Jazz. I mean, it would have been a small role at best, regardless of what happened with him in the G League or whatever. I mean, at best, it was going to be a small role. So Micah is moving on now, whether he gets on with another NBA team or maybe he goes overseas to pursue a larger contract. That's totally possible. And again, like Jordan, I personally wish Micah well. It seems like a really good guy, and he was a good guy to have as part of the Jazz organization. But that goes on to the last person on this list. That's Johnny Juzang. I actually have high hopes for Johnny, and I hope that Johnny selects the right organization for his skills. Now, he came to Utah, and Will Hardy's obviously not a guy who embraces mid-range shots. He tries to steer his players away from the mid-range game. But Johnny's strength as a basketball player, going back to his UCLA days and even today, Johnny's strength as a basketball player is shooting mid-range jump shots. That's his game. That's what he excels at. So if he can find a fit where he gets under a coach that embraces the mid-range game, I think Johnny has a greater chance of success. Now, he's not a ball handler. He's not a particularly good defender. Really, Johnny is a mid-range scorer. That's where his strength is, and that's not going to change. Will Hardy tried to turn him into a three-point shooter. Yes, he improved his three-point shot, but that's not going to supersede his ability to make mid-range shots. And unfortunately, Will Hardy didn't embrace that. I mean, I wish Johnny would have gotten more chance to come off screens and shoot mid-range shots in the mid-range game rather than coming off screens on the three-point line, which what Will Hardy likes to run. He runs those off-ball screens where guys get the ball on the three-point line, and I'm not a huge fan of that. I would rather see somebody, especially with Johnny's capability, come off screens and get the ball in the mid-range game and be able to shoot coming off picks, a la like Harpering did, or any other multitude of players over the years that the Jazz had, where under the Sloan system they would come off screens and they would get a mid-range shot, getting the ball in a place where they could shoot a 17-footer, and that's playing more to the strength of what Johnny can do. And so I hope Johnny gets another opportunity in the NBA, and I hope he can find the right fit, because I'd like to see him at least get one more shot at it, where he can hopefully find some success. I mean, he had a nice run here in Salt Lake. He has some NBA experience under his belt now, and we'll see if he can catch on with anybody. I mean, I sincerely hope that he does, and I hope that he has a choice of a few teams so that he can try and get the best fit for his particular skill set, so he's not just stuck in the corner shooting threes from either corner. I hope that he can find something better than that, but we'll see. But anyway, I'm pleased. I think this is the right thing for the Jazz to do, just to move on from those three players. They obviously weren't going to be a big part of the Jazz future, any of them, so it's better to cut ties now, give time and minutes to people that we really need to evaluate, because the Jazz are in a situation where they really need to know about some of these players that they've drafted over the past few seasons, and where they are in the process, and if they think they're worth extending, or do you cut ties with them now, try and find a trade for them now, or whatnot. I mean, those evaluations need to take place, and especially for those guys that are coming up on their third seasons. I mean, we need to know. We need to know if those guys can be part of the future moving forward, part of some sort of a good NBA basketball team. If not, I think we're better off just cutting ties, trying to find trades, whatever, rather than continuing on and then just cutting them off and letting them walk. And there's one of those young guys in particular that I've seen enough from, and I do not see him as part of the future, and I would rather the Jazz move off of that contract. I'm not going to say who it is, but enough people who have listened to this podcast over the past year will understand who I'm talking about, and that player I do not foresee hit a future with the Utah Jazz with that one particular player. But I hope that the Jazz come to that same conclusion, and if it's not this summer, maybe it's sometime during the season where they can move off of him and just go on to one of the other projects. I mean, the Jazz have so many project players on their roster right now. I mean, if they lose one, there are plenty more to take those minutes and try and grow and nurture and try and improve the game of these other players through the minutes they receive. If one of them's not working out, it's better just move on now and just try and put another person in their slot that can maybe turn into something better. That's my hope for what the Jazz do, because if they just wait it out and wait for all these young guys to reach their end at the end of their contract extensions, and then they just let them walk, I'd rather try and get something in return now, rather than just end up letting them walk. Letting them walk is preferable to providing them with a bad contract, but still, it'd be better to get something in return for even the ones you don't, or that you don't feel, or the ones that you know are not going to work out. And I think that's where the Jazz are with one particular player. So hopefully we see some movement there. But other than that, the summer league rosters have been released, and the one player that may not have been expected to get playing time in the summer, that I thought would, but you never know, is Bryce Sensabaugh. I mean, Bryce Sensabaugh is going into his third year, and he is going to get time. I don't believe he's going to go to Las Vegas, but in the Salt Lake Summer League, he's going to get some time. So he will be with the team. I expect on-court time for Bryce. So it'll be nice to see a third-year player get some minutes, and let's see where he is. I mean, as a third-year player, the Summer League you should be able to play really well in the Summer League. If Bryce struggles in the Summer League, that'll be something else. I don't anticipate him struggling. I see him shooting the ball well, but let's see how he plays overall, and let's see how his body looks. I mean, that's one of the things that we've always said with Bryce is he really needs to get his body in better condition, and I would like to see where he is with that. You know, it's been a couple 3 months since the season ended. And let's see where he is. Let's see where he is physically. So I'm looking forward to it. You know, some Summer League's coming up in a few days, and we will see how all the guys look. It's going to be a really exciting time. So anyway, let's see what other transactions drop, and we will be back on as soon as something else happens. Well, I hope everybody has a wonderful evening, and we'll talk to you later.